What happens when three wildly different people try to run a business and all of them live inside you? In this episode of The Bookish Mind, we unravel the fascinating psychology behind Gerber's entrepreneur, manager, and technician.
Welcome to a deep dive.
Yeah, welcome. We're cracking open some really insightful excerpts from Michael E. Gerber's, well, foundational book, The E-Myth Revisited,
hmm
specifically looking at Chapter 2.
And our mission today, it's pretty simple, but, quite deep, to really get our heads around that fundamental internal conflict, the one that exists inside pretty much everyone who starts a small business.
Right. And it's not just some abstract thing, is it? It's like a real psychological reality that shapes the actual fate of the business.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. According to Gerber, going into business isn't just, one person deciding to wear a new hat. It's much more like, well, like a battleground inside you.
A battleground.
Yeah, where these three distinct personalities are duking it out for control. See, none of them really wants a boss.
Right. Freedom.
So their big idea is, let's start a business together, we'll finally be free. But that, Gerber says, that's exactly where the war really kicks off.
Okay, wow. So to help us really get this internal conflict, the source uses an analogy.
It does, and it's a great one, really relatable. It's the fat guy and the skinny guy living inside us.
Oh, okay. I think I know where this is going. Like, you're sitting around, maybe feeling a bit lazy, having a snack.
Yeah, totally. Classic fat guy mode, comfortable, no pressure, and then bam, suddenly the skinny guy just wakes up.
And he's all discipline, right? Action, exercise, get organized.
Zero tolerance for sitting still. He needs to do something now.
And the skinny guy takes over completely. Suddenly you're cleaning out the fridge, buying fancy running shoes.
Planning this intense workout schedule. And maybe you actually stick to it for a bit, Get up early, feel incredible.
Yeah, that initial burst of success, you feel like a new person.
But then, well, life. The scale doesn't cooperate. Maybe it's cold and raining outside, or someone offers you like a really good ham sandwich.
Uh-oh. Definitely feeling the pull towards the sandwich there.
The fat guy is back, and he's making himself heard. He does not want to go for a run. He wants comfort. He wants the sandwich. He wants to be in charge again.
And just like that, you're back where you started. The running shoes are looking sad in the corner. The fat guy's running the show.
So the key point from this, and it's really crucial, is that we're often kind of deluded thinking we're just one single person.
Right. It's not, I can't decide whether to eat the cake or not.
Exactly. It's we. It's these different personalities inside with completely different needs, interests, lifestyles even. And crucially, they often don't really like each other. They want totally opposite things.
And that leads to the core problem Gerber talks about.
Yeah. When one personality is dominant, they make promises, they make commitments. But it's the other personalities who are expected to keep them.
Ah, like the motivated skinny guy signing the lazy fat guy up for a marathon.
Precisely. And that's why it's so hard to keep promises to ourselves sometimes. It's not just being wishy-washy. It's this constant internal battle, this power struggle for control.
Okay, so if that kind of tug-of-war happens just with diet or exercise, imagine what's going on inside someone running a small business.
Because according to Gerber, it's not just a two-way fight then.
No.
No, it's a three-way battle royale.
Okay, so this is where the entrepreneur, manager, and technician come in. These are the three fighters.
Those are the three, yes. And understanding them and their conflict is absolutely key to understanding why so many small businesses, well, struggle or even fail.
All right, let's break them down. Let's start with the entrepreneur. What's their deal in Gerber's view?
The entrepreneur is the pure visionary, the dreamer. They bring the energy, the imagination. They're the catalyst for change.
Always looking ahead.
Almost entirely. They live in the future, constantly asking, what if? Or if this happens, then when can we?
So, big picture thinking. The source says they're happiest in, like, abstract areas. How does that future focus play out in the day-to-day of a business?
That's a really good question. In business, the entrepreneur is the innovator, the grand strategist. They see totally new ways to do things, new markets. Gerber points to people like Henry Ford, Ray Kroc at McDonald's.
People who didn't just run a business, they kind of reinvented the whole thing.
Exactly. They're the creative force, comfortable with the unknown, always prodding the future, trying to shape it. They can sort of engineer harmony out of chaos, in a way.
That sounds amazing, absolutely vital for starting something. But you mentioned a clash earlier. Does that visionary energy have a downside?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
Because the entrepreneur personality has this huge need for control, not just of the vision, but control over people and events right now so they can stay focused on that future dream.
Ah, okay. So their constant push for change can be disruptive.
Very disruptive.
Yeah.
And create chaos, leave other people feeling like they're constantly scrambling to keep up or just totally left behind.
So their view becomes like, here's this amazing future versus why is everyone else dragging their feet? They might even see people as problems getting in the way.
Precisely. Now, compare that to the manager. They sound like the complete opposite almost.
The necessary counterweight, maybe?
Yeah, the manager is the pragmatic one. Their whole purpose is to bring planning, order, predictability, to clean up the mess the entrepreneur might make. Gerber uses this image of the manager organizing the garage, labeling boxes, hanging tools perfectly, drawing outlines on the wall.
Huh. I know that person. And they live in the past, right? Not the future like the entrepreneur, making things predictable based on what worked before.
Exactly. The entrepreneur craves control over the vision. The manager craves order in the operations. The entrepreneur thrives on change. The manager clings to the status quo, wants to refine what's already there.
So where the entrepreneur sees opportunity in something unexpected.
The manager sees problems, risks, things that could go wrong.
It's like the manager builds a really solid house and wants to live in it forever, keep it maintained. The entrepreneur is already sketching the next bigger house.
That's a perfect way to put it. The manager creates the neat rows. The entrepreneur comes up with the stuff to put in the rows.
And the manager is always running around tidying up after the entrepreneur.
Constantly trying to establish systems, procedures, bring things back down to earth. And Gerber says, look, without the manager, nothing sustainable would ever get built. No business, no society, really.
So they're essential, but that tension between the vision and the pragmatism.
That tension is where great things can happen. But yeah, they are fundamentally different, often opposing forces within us.
Okay, so we have the future dreamer, the entrepreneur, and the past-focused organizer, the manager. Who's the third character in this internal play?
That's the technician, the doer. Their motto is that classic line, if you want it done right, do it yourself.
Ah, the hands-on person. Just wants to roll up their sleeves and get stuck in.
Exactly. The technician loves the process of doing, taking things apart, putting them back together. For them, things are meant to be done, not just dreamed about or planned.
So if the E lives in the future, M in the past. The T is right here, right now.
Absolutely present-focused. They love the feel of the work, the satisfaction of finishing a specific task. They're happiest when they're actively working, focused on one thing, and this is key in control of their own workflow.
Control of the work itself. And that's why the source says they often distrust bosses.
Yeah, because bosses, from the technician's view, are always trying to squeeze more work out, mess up their flow, make them do things differently. Thinking, for the technician, feels unproductive unless it's directly about how to do the work right now.
So they don't care much for abstract ideas. It's all about the how-to.
Pretty much. An idea is only useful if you could break it down into steps, into a methodology.
And deep down, the technician feels like they're the only one actually getting anything done.
Absolutely. While the entrepreneur is off dreaming and the manager's fussing with systems, the technician is baking the bread, fixing the engine, making the sale. They're the individualist, the backbone, the one focused on today.
So how do the other two, the E and the M, get along with this doer? Is it smooth sailing?
Not usually, no. From the technician's perspective, everyone else just gets in the way.
How so?
Well, the entrepreneur keeps disrupting their careful work with these sudden great ideas that often mean redoing things or feel like pointless distractions.
Okay. And the manager?
The manager is also a problem because they try to impose order systems, the system, which to the technician feels dehumanizing. It turns their craft, their skill, into just being a cog in a machine.
Right. Takes away that control they value so much.
Exactly. So to the manager, the technician is this sort of unruly element that needs to be managed.
And to the technician, the manager is just a meddler trying to interfere.
You got it. And interestingly, the source says that to both the manager and the technician, who's the one who usually got them into this business mess in the first place,
The entrepreneur.
it's this constant internal, well, civil war, really.
It really sounds like it.
Now, Gerber makes a really important point here. We all have these three inside us: entrepreneur, manager, technician. And, theoretically, if they were perfectly balanced, like 33% each.
We'd be amazing, super competent, well-rounded.
Totally. The E explores, the M builds the base, the T does the work. Everyone's happy serving the whole.
That sounds like a fantasy. What's the reality for most people starting a business?
Yeah, that balance is incredibly rare. The source suggests the typical small business owner is way off balance, maybe something like 10% entrepreneur, 20%
And
manager.
a whopping 70% technician.
Exactly. A dominant technician.
So how does that play out? The tiny entrepreneur has a spark of an idea.
The slightly bigger manager starts panicking, oh no, the systems, the
And
risks.
while those two are whispering worriedly,
The massive technician, who's just fed up with being told what to do and wants control over their specific work, sees an opening.
and goes into business for themselves.
Yes. But here's the crucial bit. Their main motivation usually isn't the big entrepreneurial dream. It's not about building some grand organization.
It's just about getting rid of the boss, controlling their own tasks.
Exactly. For the technician starting out, it means the boss is dead. I'm finally in charge of my work.
And Gerber calls this the fundamental disaster for the business. Why? I mean, if they're so good at the actual work.
Because in Gerber's view, the wrong person is driving the bus. The technician is brilliant at the technical stuff, but often lacks the E's vision for the future, or the M's ability to build systems and structure for the whole business.
Right. He uses that example of Sarah, the pie baker.
Yeah, Sarah loved baking pies. Her technician was world-class. But when she started her pie business, she got totally swamped. She was trapped just baking, baking, baking because that's what she loved and knew. She couldn't see how to run the business without doing all the pies herself.
It's like trying to run a whole factory by just focusing on making one perfect screw over and over.
That's a great analogy. The doing part is in charge, but the visioning and planning parts aren't really leading or even participating effectively.
So you end up with this internal mess. One part wants this, another wants
The
that.
third wants something else entirely.
Yeah.
It causes confusion, infighting. They end up kind of sabotaging each other without meaning to.
Which is why getting some kind of balance is so critical.
Absolutely vital. Without it, this internal war just grinds on, and nobody really wins. And the tyranny of the strongest personality, so often the technician in small business, can end up wrecking not just the business, but your whole life experience around work.
And the business itself just becomes a mirror of that internal imbalance.
It can't help it be. Gerber says an entrepreneur-heavy business burns out fast. All vision, no foundation.
A manager-driven one.
Dies neatly. Lots of rules, no real purpose or output. Orderly, but dead.
And the technician-driven one. The most common. That sounds the saddest.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's where the owner works themselves into the ground, head down, focused only on the task. And they look up years later, only to find, as Gerber puts it, someone moved a freeway through the store.
Wow. The world just passed them by while they were busy working in the business, not on it.
Exactly.
Okay, so what if you're listening to this and you're resonating with Sarah? You're thinking, yep, that's me. I'm mostly a technician. Or maybe I'm mostly manager. I definitely wasn't first in line when they handed out the entrepreneur gene. What then? Are you just stuck?
That was Sarah's big question, right? And this is maybe the most hopeful part of the whole chapter. Gerber's answer is a clear no. You can do this differently.
You can.
Yes. That entrepreneurial part of you, even if it feels small or quiet, can be nurtured. It can be given life. It's not about being born an entrepreneur. It's about choosing to do the work of the entrepreneur.
Okay, so what is that work specifically? If it's not your natural default setting, how do you actually do it?
The source defines it as the work of seeing the business as something separate, something apart from you, the owner.
Stepping back from the day-to-day grind.
Exactly. Stepping back from the technical tasks, the managing tasks, and asking those really big fundamental questions. Why this particular business? What's the real point? It means leaving your comfort zone, like Sarah, leaving the comfort of just baking and starting a different kind of conversation with yourself.
Challenging your imagination, maybe? Envisioning a different future?
Yes. It's the work of consciously designing a business, one that's built to give you what you want from life, one that ideally doesn't need you there every single second to run, one that has the potential to be unique, special, memorable, to have that special flavor, as the source puts it.
And Gerber gives a specific question to kickstart this process.
He does. The truly entrepreneurial question, the dreaming question. It's simple, but really powerful.
What is it?
I wonder what that business would be.
I wonder what that business would be.
That's it. That's the starting point. The real work of the entrepreneur isn't always about doing or planning tasks. It's the work of wondering, imagining, dreaming about what could be. Gerber calls it future work. It's the kind of work inventors do, composers, artists, physicists. and yes, bakers who dare to look beyond the next batch of pies.
So the key message really is it's not about being a certain type of person that maybe you don't feel you are. It's about consciously choosing to do the work associated with that role.
The work of asking that wondering question, exploring the possibilities.
It's an active choice, a practice, not just who you are.
Exactly. It's something you can develop.
Okay, so let's just sort of wrap this deep dive up. We've looked at Gerber's E-myth concept, this internal battle between the entrepreneur, manager, and technician inside every business owner.
And understanding that conflict is just crucial, because the typical imbalance, usually way too much technician, is why so many small businesses get stuck or fail.
But the really vital takeaway, the hopeful part, is that you can strengthen that entrepreneurial side. It's possible, it's necessary, really, for building a business that truly works.
And it's not about a personality transplant. It's
Yeah.
about deliberately doing that future work, envisioning the business beyond the daily tasks, asking that key question.
I wonder what that business would be.
Precisely.
So here's something to think about. If that internal war between your entrepreneur, manager, and technician is, as Gerber suggests, a battle nobody can really win, how might learning to foster some collaboration, some balance between them, fundamentally change things, not just your business, but your whole experience of work, maybe even your life?
What's the very next step you could take, maybe even today, to start doing a little bit of that future work, to start imagining the business you truly desire, not just the one you happen to be doing right now?